Hey, let me ask you something that might get me in trouble, but I'm really curious. You know all that stuff hanging in art museums, is that really art? You've definitely heard the story. Someone buys an ordinary object from a store, signs it, and later that thing becomes a landmark in art history. Sounds pretty great, right? Quick and easy. So here's the question. If just signing something can make you a legend, why do other artists still bother making their own work? Why don't they just go buy readymades and sign them? Are they stupid? Or is the secret to that signed readymade success not really about the readymade at all? 100 years ago in New York, there was this whole drama between artists and their work. It was so weird, so huge, that art historians are still arguing about it today. Some people even say the whole birth of postmodern art started right there. So today, let's play art detective for a bit and dig into this century-old cold case. By the time you finish listening, you'll understand why some people changed art history with a signed readymade, while most people who copy them just end up as a joke. The Urinal mystery. How a urinal sold for $1.76 million. Let's go back to 1917 New York. A group of really cool artists started something called the Society of Independent Artists. They put on an exhibition with a bold slogan. No jewelry, no prices, just pay $6 and your work gets shown. It was basically an art utopia. Everyone thought it would be a big celebration for artists. But then, on opening day, all hell broke loose. The organizers found a thing in the exhibition hall. It was sitting upside down, signed with a fake name, Mutt. And you all know what that thing is fountain. The urinal that later became the starting point of postmodern art. Can you imagine the scene? A bunch of the most cutting-edge artists of the time standing around a urinal brought from a hardware store, just staring at each other. What is this? You call that art? It's an insult to everyone. The committee had an emergency meeting. They argued like crazy. In the end, they made a decision. Hide that thing away and don't let it be shown. So who made that urinal that the committee quickly hid away? It was Marcel Duchamp, one of the co-founders of the association. He submitted it under the fake name Mutt. He wanted to see if this exhibition, the one that said no jewelry, pay and you're in, was really as free as they claimed, and if they'd walk the talk. So what happened? Smack! Egg on the face! The association broke its own promise. Duchamp immediately quit the exhibition committee in protest. But the real jaw-dropper was what came next. Duchamp didn't just let it go. He and a friend started a magazine called The Blind Man. In the second issue, he printed a photo of that urinal along with an article. In that article, he gave this plumbing product a definition, a line that would shape the direction of postmodern art. Whether Mr. Mutt with his own hands made the fountain or not has no importance. He chose it. He took an ordinary article of life, placed it so that its useful significance disappeared under the new title and point of view, created a new thought for that object. Just think about how brilliant that move was. The same month he got rejected, he built a whole theoretical framework by himself. This work was never discovered years later in obscurity. From day one, it came into the world with its own instruction manual. Others waited to be defined. He just threw the definition out there himself. So what happened to the original? It got lost. As soon as the exhibition ended, it mysteriously disappeared. Maybe a janitor threw it away, maybe it got smashed as trash. Either way, it was gone. Here's the most absurd part. Almost all the fountains we see in museums today are replicas, made in 1964 with Duchamp's permission, like the one in the Tate Modern in London. That's one of them. And another replica made the same year sold for $1.76 million at Sotheby's in New York in 1999. The real revolutionary original, long gone. What we worship today is a copy. So here's the question. At what exact moment did this work actually become finished? To figure this out, we need to understand one thing. When a piece leaves the studio and becomes art, what actually has to happen along the way? I've broken it down into 4 levels. Think of it like this. For work to pass the test, it needs to be seen by 4 kinds of people. Level 1, being seen by power. This level is the most direct. Art and politics have never been apart. Michelangelo became a superstar thanks to a Pope's commission. Along the river during Qingming Festival went from folk superstar to national treasure after Emperor Qinong stamped his seal on it. Power is like a giant megaphone. It gives a work huge legitimacy and visibility. But there are also artists who still haven't had that seen by power moment. Maybe they've shown their work, maybe some people like it, but it's nowhere near a Pope's commission or an emperor's stamp. No megaphone, no spotlight. Maybe no one even knows their name. And that's okay, because the megaphone of power only shines on a tiny few. Everyone else has to rely on themselves or on time. There's never just one path in art. Some people are born in the spotlight, others need to take the slow road, letting time find their audience for them. Will they eventually get seen by power? Let's just wait and see. Level 2, being seen by the pros. This level is about curators, critics, art historians, the people who write the books. Back to Duchamp, after his Urinal got rejected in 1917, he did something really smart. He published a photo and wrote an article in his own magazine, The Blind Man, telling everyone, this is why it's art. He basically built the framework himself. As for getting written into art history, that was for later scholars to slowly fill in. What the academic world does is positioning, telling the world where this work stands in the big map of art history. This process is slow, maybe decades, but it's the backbone. Without it, a work may be popular for a while, then fade away. But Duchamp's story also shows that academic recognition can be either passively waited for or actively built. Some works are on this very path, through academic exchanges, exhibitions and discussions in historically rich spaces, actively talking with existing ideas. Those actions themselves are building the framework. As for whether they will eventually make it into art history, that's up to time to decide. Level 3, being seen by everyone. This level is about every single one of us. But Duchamp doing his own shouting is one thing, whether the public buys it is another. What was the reaction back then? Laughter, anger. People thought he was just messing around. But decades later, the same Urinal became an icon of postmodern art. In 2004, 500 British art experts voted it the most influential artwork of the 20th century. The work didn't change. What changed was the public's perception. Slowly getting it, accepting it, and finally putting it on a pedestal. Public recognition sometimes comes really late, but its energy is huge. It can turn a joke into a myth. In fact, most artworks take the exhibition path, letting people get to know them through repeated showings, entering public space so more people can approach them, see them, and slowly finding those willing to stop and linger. As for whether they can eventually pull a Duchamp-style reversal, that depends on time and fate. Level 4, being seen by money. This one is the most real and it stings the most. Someone pays up, a museum or a gallery takes it in. When a top institution like the Tate Modern officially collects that 1964 replica and puts it on display, that's when the Urinal is truly finished. Why? Because Top-tier institutional collecting is the final stamp after passing the first 3 levels. It's a combo of money plus expertise plus the public. It has the academic seal, the capital coming in, and public access. It nails the work onto the wall of art history in the most solid way. So you see, art isn't made, it's completed by being seen. Back in 1917, when Duchamp handed in his Urinal, it was only half finished. Actually, you could say it wasn't even half, because it didn't get a chance to be seen. The other half grew slowly, through his own writing, through people arguing about it, through scholars studying it, through museums taking it in. The work and its communication are one and the same. It's like you cook a dish. Finishing it in the kitchen, that's just a semi-finished product. It has to be brought to the table, tasted, talked about, remembered. Only then is it truly done. And the most fascinating thing about contemporary art is this. Whether a work makes it or not isn't up to you alone. It's decided together by all these 4 kinds of seeing. Alright, we've gone through the 4 dimensions. Now, let's go back to the question we started with. If just signing something can make you a legend, why don't other artists just go buy readymades? The answer is already hidden in what we just talked about. What Duchamp did was never just a single act of buying a urinal and signing it. After he got rejected, he wrote articles and built a theoretical framework. That's academic construction. He got the whole art world arguing for decades. That's public buzz. Later, scholars wrote him into art history. Museums collected his replicas. That's institutional validation. Most people only see buying the ready-made step and thinks it's a shortcut. But the real secret is that step is just the starting line. The 4 levels that follow are what decide whether something makes it or not. So those artists who are still diligently making their own work, they are not stupid. They know art isn't about finding shortcuts. It's about giving your work the right to be tested, layer by layer, by these 4 kinds of seeing. Duchamp's ready-made succeeded because he, in his own way, made it through all 4 levels. And if you just copy his buy a ready-made move without your own ideas and without the construction that follows, then your signature is really just a signature. So back to the first question. Is the art in museums art? Yes, but that's because it's already been finished. I'm not talking about Duchamp to sound smart. It's because letting more people see the logic behind how art works is itself a huge part of understanding art. That's probably the most simple wish for those of us who work in the art world. But have you ever thought about this? If being seen is what finishes something, then who decides the standards of seeing? Or to put it another way, do you think ordinary people like us have the power to define art? I'm not going to answer that right now. You can talk about it in the comments. We are Jing Bainian, your art detective. See you in the next episode.